To work on this winter landscape, I will use the usual sheet of paper, but the paper you will draw on has to be watercolor paper. This paper must fit for working on the dry surface and on the wet surface. Combining those two techniques gives your work transparency and the great aerial perspective, and will also make your drawing easier. You can see how I color the background, drawing on the wet surface and making it a little bit pink. On the right of the background prevails the yellow color. On the left there is more pink. Now we'll start to draw the trees. It's simple to do. For drawing the trees you can use ultramarine or Prussian blue. Both colors equally fit for the work. The top of the trees you have to draw in blue. After this you will work on the background. On the background you make forms of the farthest trees. Also you have to make shadows on the snow. You can see how I draw those shadows using the ultramarine. I'm making the shadow stones in blue. Usually the ground covered with snow isn't perfectly smooth. The snow surface is mostly bumpy and we have to show that on the paper. Then we will use some brown color. It could be sienna, or you can pick some warmer tones. Using the brown color, you draw underneath of the trees. Your painting will look beautiful if you will manage to draw on the wet surface and your paper didn't get dry till that time. But at the same time, you have to work very carefully. The shapes of the trees will disperse a little bit, but let it be, because your painting will have more air. Draw the bumps on the snow surface. Try to alternate light blue and dark blue. Maybe this alternation will give your work some beauty. I choose this landscape for a reason. This is the simplest winter landscape you can draw. As you can see, I have two paint brushes. They are both synthetic. They aren't made from animal fur. Lately, the artists who draw with watercolor tend to use these paint brushes. Now I draw the tree branches with a thin brush. The lower part of the trees dispersed a little bit since you have started to work on the wet surface. And because of that, your painting's lower part will have some aerial perspective. When you will work with the thin paint brush, drawing the trunks of the trees will look more natural like there's some bark on the trees. Combine warm tones of the trees and the blue color. Use the Prussian blue alongside with brown color. I said before that I like more sienna, but you can choose some other colors. You can even use some red color when you draw the lower parts of the trees. That will make your painting more pictorial and lively. One of the most important thing is you have to work through the whole picture. Your painting will look disconnected if you will make one part of the drawing apart from the other. It will look separated. Try to work through the whole painting and it will look beautiful. Try to detail very carefully because the details can spoil your work. But at the same time, you still need some details on your drawing. Now I focus on making the silhouettes of the trees. I use some blue color over the brown color, but the brown color will be seen anyway. That will look beautiful. Using the blue color, I enlarge this tree and make it more spacious, and this tree will become more transparent. The effects of the transparency will fit the drawing with the watercolor. During the drawing of the tree, be careful and don't make identical branches. They all have to be directed on different sides. Those branches have to look different. In this case, the trees will look more natural and interesting. Also, you don't have to make the branches thick. That doesn't exist in nature. The trees itself could be thick, but the branches are different. Thin branches look interesting and natural. One more thing, during the drawing the branches with the brush, make it like a bar dotted line. There could be snow on some branches, or some of them could be enlightened by the sun. In those cases, they won't be completely seen to us. Using a bar dotted line will always look natural and trustworthy. Now, using the big paintbrush, we fill the foreground. Then we add some dark blue color and mix it with some Prussian blue. Somewhere I added the color of the tree, namely umber color. Maybe this color is hardly seen, but there is the umber color anyway. The umber color unites and puts together the whole work, because the background of the picture is in slight pink color. But be careful to not make this work look dirty. Now look at the whole painting. Now there are the trees on the foreground and on the background, which are hardly seen. To make this painting more interesting, I will use some translucent pink color. That is the color of the sky. This way we'll lift up the trees on the painting. The sky on the painting is warm, the trees are cool. That will make this landscape truly a winter landscape. The snow surface couldn't be perfectly smooth. You have to draw bumps on the snowy surface. Also, you can make some shades on the surface. That will give you the illusion that there are some footprints from a squirrel, mouse, or dog. It will also make it look like the falling leaves. The shades on the snow make the drawing more lively. Now I finished this drawing of the trees by using thin brush. Doing that, I make the trees more natural and interesting. Sometimes there are some bushes beside the trees. You have to portray that. You can see that I draw outside the outlines of the trees. This way I make those trees bigger. That gives some aerial perspective to the drawing. The random twigs in the snow makes the painting natural. You have to make them very carefully. The top of those twigs and bushes have to be thin. The lower part of them gradually becomes thicker. This way they will look interesting and natural. This work is intended for beginners. This work will teach you how to draw the winter landscape even if you didn't do this before. You will be able to portray the specific features of the winter landscape. Look carefully at the trees. They disperse and dissolve on the top of the painting, where the sky is. At the lowest part of the painting, the silhouettes of the trees are clearer, but on the top of drawing, the trees are translucent. That will make those trees look tall. Now I finished the background. I don't want the background to be separated from the foreground. You can detail this work for eternity, but you have to choose the right moment to stop detailing the drawing. In such condition, the work is complete. If you need to make some details on the drawing, you can do that. You can add something to your painting if you need to. But you don't have to put too much details on the painting. In this case, your work won't have some aerial perspective, and it won't look like the watercolor drawing. The watercolor drawing have to be translucent, even in the darkest places of the drawing. Even such things like the trees or the houses have to be translucent. That looks beautiful. It doesn't matter whether your work is colorful or monochrome. I want this work to help you understand the main principles, how to draw the winter landscape, so that you could draw some similar paintings. Good luck.
Удачи вам!